President, Vice-Chancellor and boss, members. I thought since we've sort of got the annual reports going to be onto the website, I'll just talk a few moments about the results through to the end of June 2014, and I was going to pick up 2 or 3 issues. So one of Tony's objectives was to get the operations of the club funded, and we achieved that so that we're operating sort of the lunches and the actual sort of physical costs of the club in surplus. It did actually require a bit of an increase in fees and so forth to achieve that. Other thing was to clear grant commitments. We'd sort of got behind in some of our sort of donation, built up quite large reserves. And there's no point in having reserves. You raise the money for a purpose. So I'll just talk about that in a moment. And then strengthen the cooperation with the Wellington Rotary Trust, because we are going to be somewhat joined, although we have different governance arrangements between the two entities. So first thing I just talk about is the clearing of our grant commitments. I would sort of hasten to add that this isn't a typical year, spending between the club and the trust sort of 140, nearly 143,000. The club has pretty much used up its fundraising reserves to achieve this level of expenditure, and it has worked very closely with the trust. So I might just explain that the trust has now made a commitment of 50,000, certainly for the next year or two, for the club to be able to nominate expenditure, which then is run past the trustees for formal approval. But for 2014, there was also a drawdown of monies that we'd earned from the BK Knowles Trust, which used to be, or was held in the club, but was invested with the trust. And that's helped us make a number of these donations here. So the key ones really is we sort of completed the 3-year giving program to the Wellington Free Ambulance, which was the defibrillator program mainly. A Mulligan PhD scholarship, which was an interest grant. We funded a 3-year scholarship with the Mulligan, and that's $25,000 a year, and that was completed as well. TRO Medical was a new partnership or a new initiative that was picked up in 2014. And then finishing off the Papua New Guinea medical project, I think we'd spent about 12,000 the previous year, and there was 4,000 there, and then other expenditure. The money that's shown in the Rotary Foundation was funded by member donations, and that's one of the things I might just sort of talk about very briefly as a sort of a transition. We're now having more and more money coming from the club members in terms of donations that will be routed through the trust. And in the accounts from 2015 onwards, they will not show actually in the club accounts, because you'll be seeking a charitable donation receipt for those funds. So they have to go to a charitable organisation, which is the trust. And I've spent a bit of time on that. So I was just going to talk a bit about the club balance sheet. It's a bit detailed, but just to say that the club is becoming more and more now the operational side of the club operation. So we've got relatively simple balance sheet now. The Bernie Knowles Trust, or bequest, is now moved to, at the end of 2014, has moved to the foundation. As has the Mackenzie Rangatira money as well. So that, and then just looking at the trust balance sheet, we haven't completed the accounts for the 30 June yet, but you can see that there's over nearly 1.1 million in investments. So that now includes the BK Knowles bequest, which was about 240,000. And the Salmon Trust, and roughly, the club general funds as part of that retained earnings is about one third. And so the trust has committed $50,000 a year, so that's round about earnings of 5% for the club to be able to nominate expenditure. It does have to meet the requirements of the trust or the bequests within the overall trust. So one third we can expend on sort of things that we want to do within the club. And then the Burnie Knolls and Salmon are mainly sort of through to the elderly. So our projects have got to have an elderly theme, and those are the main requirements. Next time I get up, I'll talk a little bit more about the income and the balance sheet. The income projections for the club going in through to 2015. But in the interest of time, that's as far as I'll go. Thank you.